Hey everyone, thanks very much for joining us for this pretty cool session. Timo Liski, a quick introduction just from me, is the director of Wavetool. And some of the stuff I saw on his demo yesterday was pretty cool while we were checking out the session. So I'm sure you guys will have a wonderful time. Just if you have any questions, put them down in the chat box or in the Q&A section, and we'll keep taking questions as we keep getting them in. But I won't waste any more time. Timo's got a lot of pretty cool tech to show you. So over to you, Timo.
Thank you very much, Fali, and thanks for everyone for joining this Friday afternoon. Um, um, so my name is Timo Liski. I'm running a company called Wavemark, which is author of the software Wavetool, which I'm going to show you today. First, I'm going to talk a bit about where Wavetool is in use, and also tell a bit about history. We started 2016 to develop Wavetool when we saw that there is no software-based solution for listening audio for live sound or broadcast sound, and so we wanted to have kind of a cross-platform approach so that any audio that you can get into a Mac computer, you could listen to while simultaneously monitor the RF levels and battery life of your receivers. I'm first going to share my screen and start with a short introduction where I show pictures of productions using Wavetool. So let me see where I can share my screen. Desktop 2. Okay, so probably the one of the largest events where Wavetool was used was just before the pandemic in Switzerland, Europe, where they had this purposely built stadium. It's called Fette Vigneron, and they had 324 channels of Axiom digital. So all the performers were using wireless microphones, and somehow they wanted to be able to listen to the audio without using a mixing console. So they ended up by the way, Fali, are you seeing now I'm not sure if I'm sharing the correct screen. So do you see the receivers now?
Yeah, we see all the receivers now. Yes, that's right.
Yeah, okay, cool. Yeah. So this was the control room for Fette Vigneron. They had, as I said, 324 channels of Axiom digital, and then they routed the audio directly from the receivers to 4 Mac computers, and each Wavetool was able to then monitor up to 128 channels. Now there's a microphone open. Okay, so yeah, so they were able to monitor with these touchscreens easily any audio from these receivers without having a mixing console. And if you would imagine having a mixing console that could do 340 like 30 channels of audio, it would be a huge. Plus you would only have the ability to listen to the audio. You can see wireless workbench here for the coordination, but the main screens are the overview where you can easily see if the audio is running. When you touch the screen, you will route the audio to this Genelec speaker here, so you can easily navigate through all the channels and make sure that they work. And simultaneously, Wavetool was able to show the RF levels and the battery life in this room. They also had to mic up the actors far away from the stadium. So they pulled the fiber almost 1 kilometer away, like 800 meters away from this room, and they had antennas there so that they could connect Wavetool iOS device, so iPads, to these computers, and they could wirelessly walk with the iPads and also listen to any of the audio channels, or any of the 324 channels, while they handed over the belt packs and the microphones to the actors. So it was really handy for them to be able to monitor the audio anywhere. So this is probably the one of the largest setups for Wavetool ever. Recently, last summer, Wavetool was in use on Tokyo Olympics opening and closing ceremonies. Here you can see Mr. Steve Caldwell, who was the RF coordinator for the event, and he used two touchscreens for more than 100 channels, or 128 channels, so that he could anytime listen to any audio from the opening ceremony. And as he was using the wireless workbench for all the coordination, but here you can see also on the right side of Mr. Caldwell, you can see the two touchscreens for Wavetool, so that whenever he wanted to listen to the audio, he was able to do that quickly by just touching the channel he used. Also, these computers were connected to the other room that was remote location from this RF control room. So there was another room for audio, which was this one. And here Mr. John Watterson was listening more than 300 audio channels and through Wavetool. So here you can see on the right side of John, you can see huge screens with different Wavetools. One of the computers was connected to the RF control room, so that John could also listen and see everything from the RF world. But main thing on this room was that he was able to listen to any input or output of the system. So they had fiber link across the stadium with octa-core system, and they actually they were able to monitor each input and each output going to, for example, to speakers from this room through Wavetool. They also had time code, so LTC was fed in to Wavetool from multiple locations, so that when the time code was traveling around the stadium, if there would have been a cut on time code, they would easily see it from Wavetool where the cut is between two different points. So basically they were monitoring not just the RF microphones and audio from RF microphones, but also all the wired inputs and also all the audio outputs through Wavetool. So that was this was probably the biggest event using Wavetool ever. And there's a close picture of these different screens of Wavetool in John's working position. And here you can see the stadium layout as well. In the first place, we made Wavetool mainly for theater use. Now it's been changed so that Wavetool is also used in live events, you know, reality shows, TV shows, and all the broadcast stuff. But still, many of the shows in West End, UK, or Broadway, New York, are using Wavetool. And here you can see some of the very well-known musicals like Lion King or Les Miserables or Matilda or Harry Potter or Phantom of the Opera, and they use all Wavetool for audio monitoring. And one of the reasons why this is happening is that here's one of the pictures where in the theater Wavetool is in use. They have a headphone amplifier, headphones, speaker, and then Wavetool in the center, and they can easily monitor the audio coming through from the RF receivers, but also from the mixing rack of the in this case Digico. But they don't have a mixing console in most of the theaters at stage end, so they need to have some kind of an interface to be able to listen to any audio. And here the Wavetool is fairly cost effective and good solution to monitor the audio. This is pretty much the similar setup. So there's some Accent digital receivers and then Wavetool, and for the user it's very easy with the touchscreen to just push any actor channel and the audio is routed to your headphones. This is pretty much similar but from live show. So here you can see wireless workbench for the RF coordination, and then next to it is a Wavetool for the audio monitoring, and again some Accent digital receivers sending the Dante out directly to a computer running Wavetool. Here's some flowchart that I'm going to show you the Wavetool today. So in my setup, which I'm going to show you very soon, I have some Accent digital receivers, and from the receivers I'm sending Dante to a switch and to a Mac Mini running Wavetool and Dante virtual sound card. Simultaneously I'm sending the control data from the receivers to a switch and also to Wavetool, and I also have a touchscreen in front of me. I could easily send the audio then from Wavetool to any audio device. It could be the headphone amplifier of the Mac, or I could send it through Dante to some other headphone amplifier or speaker or pair of headphones. In this case, I'm actually sending my audio to you. So I'm sending my Wavetool audio to Zoom meeting so that you can actually hear it. I also have an Wi-Fi access point connected to the computer through a switch, and then I have a iPad, and then I can wirelessly stream audio to iPad and listen it from the headphone amplifier of the iPad. So I can easily move about on stage and monitor audio by using Wavetool mobile remote. I could have another computer, for example, front of house or some other location, maybe dressing room or other room, distant location, where I could then also listen to the audio from Wavetool remote software. Then I'm going to jump into Wavetool software. So first I'm going to launch it, and as soon as I launch it, I can see a selection of input and output audio device. So this could be any audio device that your Mac can detect. Many people think that Wavetool is only for Dante, but that's not the case. So it can be anything. It can be your USB interface, or it can be your RME MUDI face, or any audio device that can be connected to the Mac. Also, the output device can be a separate device. In this case, I'm sending it through Soundflower to you guys, but I could easily listen it from my Mac Mini speakers if I wanted to. You can also do input device out of multiple devices. So to give you an example, if there's a TV show that has Accent digital receivers, but they also have mixing console stage rack, like Digico or Yamaha stage rack, they can do an aggregate device in Mac. So in this case, I'm actually doing that. So I'm listening to Dante virtual sound card plus another virtual sound card called loopback. So I'm sending some band tracks virtually because I don't have a band playing here, unfortunately. So I'm sending some virtual band tracks through this one to my Wavetool session. I'm going to open this session just by, to save some time, I'm going to open a previously made file. This is how Wavetool looks like, and you probably fairly soon figure out that all this green stuff here is the audio coming into Wavetool. So this is the, I'm actually using, let me show it to you if I can. I'm using a Reaper digital audio workstation to just run some virtual tracks, and you can see the audio coming into these 10 first tracks. I also have my own microphone, so I'm using actually a Twimplex headset and then Accent Digital 81 transmitter, and this audio is also shown in this channel 21 here. So you can also see the green level to be the audio. You can also see that I have 6 hours 50 minutes battery left of my Accent Digital transmitter. I'm using antenna A and B, and the orange trace here is the overall RF level. So for example, if I try to hide this belt pack, I'm so close to the antennas that I need to actually take the antenna off. But if I do that, you can see that the RF level drops when I take the antenna out. Here you can also see the quality level of the Accent Digital receiver. So also the quality drops if I take out the antenna, and there will be dropout when I take the antenna off all the way down. Then if I want to listen to the audios channels here, I can easily click on any channel with the touchscreen. Now I'm going to use a mouse so that you can see actually what I'm doing. So up here you can see 3 different tools. First tool is just purely channel selection tool. The next one here is opens up a timeline, and the third tool selects the channel, so solos the channel and simultaneously opens up the timeline. So for example, if I now click the bass guitar here, you start hearing the bass guitar when I click it. Or I can do audio groups, so if I hit this one, you start hearing the whole band. So it's fairly easy to navigate through the channels. You can either have kind of a single solo mode, which then cancels the previous selection, or from the preferences I can easily change that to be the additional solo mode. So then whenever I select more channels, I can select multiple channels and then press the solo clear, which clears the selection. I can also hard solo a channel. For example, if I long click this channel 23 here, it will be highlighted with the white frame. It means that even if I press solo clear, it won't be cleared. And this is very useful if you have, for example, intercom audio routed to Wavetool. Then you can easily listen to any of the channels, but you will, even if you press the solo clear, you would be also always be listening, for example, these comms channels here, like this. You can always clear all the solos by long pressing solo clear. So if I press this for a couple of seconds, then all the selections are cleared. So this is basically the very easy way to navigate and listen to a lot of audio channels on your screen with a mouse, or better with a touch screen. By the way, there's there might be a question like people say that there's no touchscreens for Mac computers, but actually there's a couple of ways to make it work. So there's a brand called ViewSonic. It can be found from our website, so wavetool.fi. There's a link on the learn and support page to all the ViewSonic screens. They are not too expensive either, and they work directly with the very new Macs, but also with the old Macs. Then there's a third-party company called TouchBase, who does the drivers for almost any touchscreen, so that they make it work with Mac. The next tool here on the upper left corner, it opens up the timeline. So if I click here on my own channel called Hamilton, I will open up a timeline and I can see 5-minute history of the audio. So here is now, and that was 5 minutes ago. In this timeline, I can also assign a player or actor profile. For example, here you can see that the real name of this channel 21 actor is Lin-Manuel, role name is Hamilton, and he's wearing two 80X1Ms as he's playing the main role, and it's really important. You can also see the frequency in use and also the battery life of the transmitter in this window. Then on the timeline, you can see the audio RMS. You can click them on and off. So audio RMS, antenna A, antenna B, and quality level. You can see them independently here. So again, if I take the antenna off from my belt pack, you start seeing that both the antenna A and B dropped, as did the quality level right here. You can of course zoom in and out. So if you want to investigate closer, you can zoom in, and then you can slide the timeline to exact to the point where you want to see it. But the coolest thing about this timeline is that we have feature called instant replay built into Wavetool, which means that you can go back in time and listen to what just happened a while ago. So for example, if I want to hear what I was talking a couple of minutes ago, I can quickly go to the timeline and click any point in time, and then I start hearing from my headphones or from my small speaker what just happened. And it's really handy if something strange happens, maybe the earring is hitting the headset, or there's some strange noise, you don't know what it was, you can open up timeline and go back. So for example, if I go now 2.5 minutes ago, you can start hearing what I just said a while ago. So I'm gonna go start playing instant replay right now. So here is now, and that was 5 minutes ago. In this timeline I can, and then stop instant replay takes me back to the live audio. So now you are actually listening to me live again, not from the recording. So the instant replay records 5 minutes of all the channels you've enabled it to record. After 5 minutes, it throws all the data away, so it doesn't stress your computer more than it does when you start the instant replay. So it uses the memory of the computer, not the hard drive, and depends on how much memory you have on your computer. You can then, enable the instant replay. But for example, if you have 8 GB of memory, you could easily have more than 100 channels on instant replay on. With 4 GB, maybe 40 to 50 channels would be okay, and that's a lot of channels already. So, and 4 GB with new computers, I don't think they anymore sell that small memory amounts for the computers. So that is instant replay. It's very handy to find issues with your microphones. I can give you another example. So if I now take one handheld microphone and turn it on, I have the 82 with SM Beta 58 capsule here, and you can see that it appears on John L channel 22. If I talk to it, you can see the audio, and then if I hit it, so if I accidentally do something like this, you can see that the channel turned red. There's an algorithm called Snack, Crackle and Pop that detects unnatural audio signal, and now when it clipped, the channel here turned red, and you can see also that alert reset appeared. I can clear this alert by hitting the alert reset. So I now easily detected that the channel 22 had that problem. If it would have been some, lavalier microphone, maybe with the microdot connector, it's easy to have those nasty noises that no one wants to hear. And sometimes when you have a lot of people on stage, it's not easy to, detect who it was. So maybe, hopefully, Wavetool will show it to you. If you then press alert reset, accidentally, you don't know what it was, but you can still open up the timeline of John. You can see that there's a red marker on that point in time when it happened. And then you can also go to listen to how it sounded. So if I click on a timeline, you can hear that, okay, someone was hitting the microphone and that was the problem. If you don't have time to investigate it, you can also export the audio. So you can then press this button, export audio, and it will do a timestamp and name the channel, and then you can save the WAV file to your computer. So it saves the 5 minutes of audio, and then you can easily later on investigate the possible problem. Okay, so that's basically the very basic use of Wavetool. So you can easily monitor and listen to the audio, and that's the key. So you can listen to any audio out of 128 channels on your computer, but you can also monitor that on your iOS device. So I'm going to jump next to my iOS device. Let's see if I can make that happen. So I go to another desktop. Now you should see my iPad right in front of you. And when I wirelessly, I'm in the same network with the computer, and I'm going to click Wavetool remote app, and it will send all the actor images and everything. And now I have pretty much the same on iOS iPad, and then basically the using is pretty much the same. The biggest difference is that with the iOS device I can wirelessly stream the audio to my iPad and listen it from my headphone output of the iOS device. So if I hit this stream button here, it starts streaming the audio, and then if I solo a channel, for example the bass, you should be hearing the bass on your Zoom, and hopefully it doesn't compress too much. I don't know the settings of the Zoom, so it might crash the audio a bit, but anyway, you get the idea. You also have the timeline window on your iOS device. So if you select the channel Hamilton, and then if I press the zoom button, it opens up the timeline of my own microphone. And again, the instant replay works here as well. So I can wirelessly be next to the actors or close to the dressing room or distant location, and then I can hit any point in time and go back in time to listen what just happened. So I'm just going to do I'm going to click right here. Pretty much the same on iOS, iPad, and then and when I click it again, it will stop playing the instant replay and it takes me back to live audio. So that's kind of the very cool thing that you can remotely listen to what just happened a while ago. You can of course scroll the screen so you can get all the channels. You can hide the zoom window so that you can fit in something like 30 to 40 channels in your screen, and then you can see all the 128 channels right here. On the iOS device, if I swipe right on the main screen, it takes me to a chat window. So Wavetool has text chat between all the connected Wavetool endpoints. And for example, here you can already see one chat message. It was created when I hit the Beta 58 microphone, my time 2:25. So around 6 minutes ago, I can see that I have the SCP, short for Snack, Crackle and Pop algorithm, that detected the problem on the audio channel, and it also appears on my chat. Then if I want to say something, for example, to all the other participants of the chat, I can click this window here and type anything. On the chat I can type in anything, and then I can press send this message. And if I jump back to my main computer and open up a chat box from this button, I can see that also in this window here I have the SCP alert 7 minutes ago or 8 minutes ago, and also iPad sending me no problem message. And I can of course type in and answer back by typing anything like this and send it as a message. Or I can also send a flash message if I want to draw attention, because sometimes if you chat between, let's say, front of house and stage end or any location, you might start chatting like, what are we having for lunch, and does anyone need a coffee? But then if you really have a problem, you can type it in and send it as a flash message. And when I do that, if I jump back to my iPad, I can see that on my window here there's a flash notifier blinking because I have a problem. I can then click that and it takes me to the chat, and I can then reply either by again typing, or I can create macro buttons so that if I usually answer with OK, I don't want to type that every time, so I can just, you know, modify these buttons to be whatever I want, and then I can just click on this create button here, and if I go back to my main chat, I can see that there's text great. So I can also launch these chat macros with function keys, or I can also program them to follow MIDI. So if I have a mixing console, let's say I have a Digico, a Yamaha, or any mixing console that can send out MIDI, I can easily program buttons sending MIDI messages so that I don't have to type or touch the computer. I can just like say, you know, the show starts now, and then have that message to be sent by just pushing a button in my mixing console. Then I can have another computer. So now I have my master computer Wavetool, which is connected to the wireless receivers and the audio source that can be anything, and I also have my wireless iPad in the system. But I can add another computer, let's say front of house computer for this. So I can jump to another desktop, Here I have already launched Wavetool 3 Remote, which is a computer software, not iOS software. I still have the chat notifier blinking here. If I click it, it will disappear. And then I also have the chat window. I can do exactly the same things like soloing channels or opening timeline on this window on Wavetool Remote. And there can be up to five users. So master Wavetool that is connected to all the audio devices, and then there can be 4 so-called clients, which can be then either another computers or iOS devices in this same Wavetool network. And everyone can have their own independent audio mix. So to show that, in this Wavetool 3 Remote, I have soloed this, for example, King George here. But if I jump into my master Wavetool, I can solo here different channels. So I can. This is independent from the Wavetool remote computer, as well as it's independent from the iPad. So here I can solo different channels again. So you can have up to 5 users with their independent audio mix using Wavetool. There's one more fairly cool feature. There's a lot of small features in Wavetool that which I won't be covering today because it would take all the day. But there's one more fairly cool feature that is really useful for many users using Wavetool. So there's a feature called mic check mode, and before we made this to Wavetool, especially in theaters and some TV shows, people were using pen and a paper. So before the show, they wanted to check each microphone, and they checked microphones, let's say 1 to 25, 24, and 25 to 48, so that one technician were checking or responsible for the first 24 microphones and the second one for the rest of the microphones. And then they used pen and a paper, and each time they've checked the microphone, they marked, okay, the microphone number 13 is checked, this is okay to go on stage, and so on. So we wanted to make an easy way to mark your microphones in Wavetool, and we made a feature called a mic check. So if I go to mic check mode here, it shows these some of the channels red right here. So I can simultaneously open up mic check window, and this window tells you which microphones needs to be checked. So there's a column called to be checked, and I have marked these guys that these needs to be checked before the show. I can either check them from here by clicking the channel, and you can see that the corresponding channel turns green, or from the screen I can first listen to the channel, and then if I long click it, I can mark it green. So it's easy to go through the orchestra channels, for example, in Orchestra Pit, and first listen to it and then check it to be green. I can see here that Wavetool Master has checked these microphones. If I now jump into another, for example, the iPad, I can in iPad settings go to mic check mode, enable that, and then I can also, by long clicking, check more channels. So now if I check these, I can go back to my main computer. I can see that iPad has checked these channels okay. And when all the channels are green, the show is good to start. And this is for Act 1. So there's actually, this is done for, you can have opening and closing ceremony, or Act 1, Act 2, Act 3. So you can then decide which microphones needs to be checked per act, or before the show or after show. And you can also add some notes to the channels as well. And there's also a timestamp, so who checked the microphone and when. So you can easily find the guilty one. If some microphone wasn't checked, you know who was the guilty one. Just kidding. So that's basically the mic check mode, but it's very easy way to mark your mic and keep track which microphones are checked and which are not. So basically we have covered all the basic things on Wavetool. So you can monitor up to 128 audio channels. You can monitor them out of any audio device. So it doesn't have to be Dante. It can be AVB from Avid consoles. It can be Muddy from Digico consoles, or it can be any device. You can monitor the RF levels, the battery life of most well-known receivers. Here I was using Axian Digital, but please note that it's even if Shure is the main owner of our company, we still support the others as well. So if I open up this menu here and add another receiver, these are the receivers that are currently supported in Wavetool. So you could have set up, if you have some of your wireless are Sennheiser or Sony or Visicom or Electro, and then some of our Shure, you can actually monitor them in one software at the same time. You can have up to 5 independent users, so they can be either iOS devices or computers, and each user can monitor independently their audio mix, so that they don't interrupt them the others. And all the users can chat between all the Wavetool members and keep things informed that what's happening next, and maybe if there's a problem with the microphone, everyone knows it. And also the chat will show the SCP, so broken audio channel warnings. It will also show the low battery. If some transmitter will run low battery, it will show that to you. And chat will also show you about the RF interference. So if you happen to have a microphone and there's another on top of that frequency and there's an interference, it will pop up on the chat window too. Yeah, that's pretty much all the features of Wavetool. So I think we could easily go now to if any questions, or if someone wants more detailed explanation about something, I could easily cover those.
Sure. We have a few questions, and
Yep.
guys, if you all want to unmute your microphones just to ask those questions, please go ahead. Not a problem at all. I think Nikhil has a question.
Hi, Timo.
Hi.
I wanted to know, at the beginning of the presentation, you said you had done about 300 odd channels. So how would you monitor more than 128 channels? Would that be 2 instances of work tools running together?
Yep. Exactly. So basically at the moment, the maximum input amount is 128 on Wavetool. And for example, on those Olympics and also in the Fette Vigneron, where they had more channels, they just added more computers. So they had another instance of Wavetool and another sound card for that one. So they were not like talking, they were just separate instances.
Right. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So just a question that I had, which I think you addressed also at the end, was that you can actually pull in a source that is, even your AVB or something of a digigrid, maybe even of a wave sound card in a digico desk. So for those like using, say, like a VI console, Soundcraft console, for example, you could pull in MADI of that as well, like with an RME card or something like that, and bring it in.
Yeah, exactly. So if I open my audio MIDI setup of my Mac, here you can see all the devices that are connected to my Mac computer. If I would, I can use any of these as my input and output, as long as they are either 48 kilohertz or 96 kilohertz. If you have an audio device that is weirdly supporting some 44.1 or 88.2, or I can't remember the the frame the sample rates, but the only supported sample rates are 48 and 96 kilohertz. And also the input and output device needs to share the same sample rate. But it could be, and here I can show you that I've done an aggregate device. So I have done to virtual sound card and loopback, and that's a one device. I could add any of these. For example, I have a USB device called Capture here. I could just add it here and have more channels. So that is basically the way to have the 128 channels of audio, or to have audio device that actually supports 128 channels. I also have one MADI device here that supports 3 times MADI, so 169 or something like that, 196 channels of audio. So I could use that as well and choose 128 channels out of those channels. So that's kind of a way to do it.
Awesome.
Yeah, one thing that I want also to mention, that even if I show you the pictures of the Fette Vigneron and Olympics, it's kind of, those are the biggest shows that use Wavetool, and also all the very well-known musicals. But there are so many users that use Wavetool with maybe 12 channels or 16 channels or 20 channels. So it doesn't have to be, your biggest show ever when you start using Wavetool. But there are many applications where, for example, the monitor mixing console doesn't exist. And then it's really handy to have someone on the stage end with, for example, an iPad, so that they can see that the battery is okay. They can easily listen to audio before handing over the microphone. So there's a lot of corporate events and TV shows and stuff where they just don't have the monitor mixer. So then it's really handy to have Wavetool so that you can actually monitor the audio as well.
Cool. Do we have any other questions? Please feel free to ask.
Yeah, please.
Sure.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear.
Hi, Timo. I'm Ibrahim. I wanted to ask, is it possible to use this Wavetool in studio recording, like if you're recording a band with 50 channels and more, so that can be used in studio? Or is it only purposely used for live recordings?
Well, basically basically Wavetool is not used for recording the show. Basically the instant replay recording that it has is more for troubleshooting. So when you have problems with microphones, then you can go back in time and listen to it. But for any recordings, then you would use some digital audio workstation like Pro Tools or Logic or something like that. But I have to mention that if that there's been a question, if you record your live show with computer running, for example, Logic or Pro Tools, with the same computer you can easily use Wavetool as well with the same sound card, so they can run simultaneously in one computer.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question.
Yep.
Hi guys.
Hi.
So where does it pick off? Say, supposing you have a console that's connected to your computer and you're using that as the interface. Where does it pick off? Soon after the pre? Is that where the
That's a really good question. Basically, if you, it depends, but it's a really good question. If you have wireless receiver like Accent Digital or ULXD, the audio is sent from the Dante port to Mac using Dante Virtual Sound Card, so it doesn't benefit from the preamp. So you might need to gain or trim your channels within Wavetool to get a good working level. But if you split the signal from, let's say, Digico the mix rack or the stage rack, it actually comes after the preamp. So the level is already set. So usually, but it depends. If you split it from Digico rack, it will be after preamp because the MIDI feed is after preamp. But if it's depends on, there might be some other consoles. I'm not super expert, but there might be consoles where you split it. For example, if it's Yamaha and if you split the Dante, I believe that is pre the preamp.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, Timo. This is Vinod. Is it possible to monitor AVB and Dante channels same together on Wavetool?
Yes. So yes, definitely it is. So you would need to go to audio MIDI settings and then set up an aggregate device and then choose AVB and Wavetool to build that aggregate device. So then you get then you can monitor 64 channels of Dante plus 64 channels of AVB at the same time.
Because those two are different protocols of networks. So how we get it in Wavetool?
Yeah, you would need to. Am I still sharing my screen? I think I am. So you would need
No,
to
I
go
don't.
to
I
audio.
don't believe. See, you're not sharing your screen at the moment.
Ah, okay.
That's my
Sorry.
screen.
Let's go back to my screen. I don't have AVB running here, but if I would see my Dante Virtual Sound Card here, and then there would be AVB as well here. I would then go to Aggregate Device. I would select, instead of these guys, I would select Dante Virtual Sound Card, and if this would be then the AVB, those two. And when I launch Wavetool, I would then select an aggregate device as my input device. So then I would get in 128 channels, and I could change the order here. So Dante Virtual Sound Card would be my first device, and that if that would be the AVB, I could then drag and drop them in any order. So if that would be like this, so that's the way to do it. So you have to build an aggregate device to do it. There's actually if you go to wavetool.fi, which are our website, there you can download a 7-day free trial of Wavetool, but there's also a menu item called Learn and Support, and there's also instructions how to make an aggregate device. So that's basically the best place to check it out.
So you could, for all practical purposes, aggregate any device across any platform, and you could bring them all via the aggregate device into Wavetool.
Yeah, and also there's been questions like, would we do Wavetool for Windows or PC computers? And that's a really good question as well. One of the things that cannot be done easily on Windows is aggregate device. So we would only be tied to 64 channels basically if we would do. I don't say we never do Windows version, but at the moment we are not planning to do it. Also, the audio streaming for the iOS device would be really difficult on Windows side of things. So that's why we are relying on the Apple products, even if we know that there would be some users who would like to use Wavetool on on Windows platform.
Cool. So people can reach out to the website to get that 7-day demo license, right?
Yes.
I just saw it up on your website, so maybe you can download it just at the time when you want to try it, and then make use of it. And I've put the Wavetool website up here, learn and support page, and also Timo's email address. So if you want to email him with some more questions, then you can email him directly regarding the
Feel free to do
questions.
that.
Yeah.
Also, when you go to Wavetool page, because I'm a marketing guy, so I need to say that there's a link also to WT Auto Mixer plugin, which we also, it's on another product. It's a VST plugin, which is pretty much the same as Dugan Auto Mixer, but it also has a leveler built in, so auto leveler. So check that out as well. There's a 7-day free trial for WT Auto Mixer VST plugin that works on almost any plugin host or digital audio workstation like Pro Tools, Logic, Reaper, or you name it.
Cool. Awesome. Guys, we're almost at the end of this. Just a few minutes left. If there are any questions, and if not, then we can enjoy the rest of your Friday and have a great weekend. Thanks again very much for joining us. Really enlightening session, Timo. Thanks very much. And looking
Thank you very
forward
much
to using these products, using this software on our next gig.
Excellent. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining.